2,000 years ago, while most of the world still lived in mud huts, a Roman citizen could wake up in a six-story apartment building, walk across heated marble floors, use a flushing public toilet, grab hot fast food from a street counter, and relax in a heated swimming pool the size of a stadium. They had fresh water piped into their cities, concrete that still hasn't crumbled, and roads so good that we still drive on some of them today. So how on earth was ancient Rome this advanced 2,000 years ago? Let's find out. It all starts with their secret weapon, Roman concrete. The Romans mixed volcanic ash with lime and seawater to create a building material so strong that their structures are still standing 2,000 years later, while our modern concrete often crumbles in just 50. Even stranger, Roman concrete can heal itself. When tiny cracks form and water seeps in, it triggers a chemical reaction that grows fresh crystals and seals the crack right back up. They could even set it underwater, building harbors and bridges directly into the sea. Scientists today are still trying to fully copy their recipe. With that concrete, they cracked a problem that challenges even modern cities, moving fresh water across tens of miles. The Roman aqueducts carried water from distant mountain springs into the heart of the city using nothing but gravity. The precision was insane. Over a stretch of 50 miles, the channel might drop only a few inches per mile, a near-perfect slope, all calculated and dug by hand. Where a valley got in the way, they raised towering stone arches to carry the water across it. Some aqueducts poured hundreds of millions of liters of fresh water into the city every single day. And all that water fed a city that felt almost modern. Public fountains bubbled away on street corners where anyone could come and fill a jug. The wealthy had private taps, piping running water straight into their homes through networks of lead and clay pipes. Some rich villas even had decorative fountains splashing in the garden. While people 1,000 years later were still hauling buckets from filthy wells, the Romans had something close to plumbing on tap. Of course, all that water has to go somewhere. So the Romans built sewers. The Great Drain of Rome, the Cloaca Maxima, was so enormous you could row a boat through it, and parts of it are still draining the city to this very day, 2,500 years later. They had public toilets too, long marble benches with rows of holes where dozens of people would sit and chat together while running water washed everything away beneath them. This was sanitation on a scale that Europe would not see again for over 1,000 years. But the true heart of Roman daily life was the bathhouse. These were not little tubs. They were enormous public leisure complexes, some of them big enough for thousands of people at once. Inside you would find a hot room, a warm room, and a cold plunge pool, along with gyms, libraries, gardens, snack bars, and rooms for a massage. For a single tiny coin, almost anyone could spend the whole afternoon there. It was a swimming pool, a spa, a gym, and a social club, all rolled into one giant marble palace. And how did they keep those vast baths and their fancy villas warm? Central heating. The Romans invented a system called the hypocaust. They lifted the floor up onto stacks of little pillars, leaving an empty space underneath. Then a furnace pushed hot air through that gap and up through hollow tiles inside the walls, warming the entire room from the floor upward. It is basically underfloor heating, the exact luxury feature that people pay extra for in their homes today, and the Romans had it 2,000 years ago. Now, to run an empire, you have to be able to move. So the Romans built roads, more than 50,000 miles of them, enough to wrap around the earth twice over. And these were not dirt tracks. They were engineered in careful layers, with a deep foundation of stone, gravel, and sand, topped with tightly fitted paving stones, and slightly curved so the rain would drain straight off. They were built so straight and so well that some Roman roads are still in use 2,000 years later. The old saying was completely true. All roads really did lead to Rome. All of this came together in cities unlike anything the world had seen before. At its peak, the city of Rome held around 1 million people, a size that no European city would reach again for over 1,500 years. To house them all, the Romans built upward, with apartment blocks called insulae, rising 5, 6, even 7 stories tall. They had planned street grids, public squares, and even an early fire brigade patrolling the streets at night. Walking through ancient Rome would have felt shockingly like walking through a real, modern city. And city life meant convenience. Most Romans in those apartments did not even have their own kitchens, so they simply ate out. The streets were lined with thermopolia, ancient fast food counters serving up hot meals, wine, and snacks to busy citizens, basically the world's very first takeaways. They had whole shopping districts, and in Rome there stood Trajan's Market, a multi-level complex of over 150 shops and offices that historians often call the world's first shopping mall. Then there were the showpieces, the buildings that still leave us speechless today. The Colosseum could seat 50,000 roaring spectators. It had a retractable fabric roof to shade the crowd from the sun, and a network of underground elevators to lift wild animals and gladiators up into the arena. They could even flood the whole thing to stage mock naval battles. And the Pantheon, finished almost 2,000 years ago, still holds the world record as the largest unreinforced concrete dome on the entire planet. It is not a ruin. It is still standing, perfectly intact today. But the genius was not only in their stone. The Romans ran their enormous empire with systems we still recognize now. They had a relay postal service that could carry an urgent message clear across the empire in just days. They used standardized coins, weights, and measures, from Britain all the way to the Middle East. They had detailed written laws, courts, and contracts. And the calendar reform ordered by Julius Caesar is, with only tiny tweaks, the very same calendar hanging on your wall right now. So if they were this advanced, then what on earth happened? When the Western Roman Empire finally collapsed, an enormous amount of this knowledge was simply lost. The aqueducts ran dry, the great baths fell silent, the roads slowly crumbled, and the population of Rome itself crashed from 1 million people down to just a few tens of thousands. For more than 1,000 years afterward, the cities of Europe were smaller, dirtier, and far less sophisticated than Rome had been at its peak. People literally lived among the ruins of a world more advanced than their own, no longer knowing how to rebuild it. So how was ancient Rome so advanced? Not with magic and not with secrets from the stars, but with brilliant engineering, astonishing organization, and that one miraculous recipe for concrete. They proved that with the right ideas, a civilization 2,000 years ago could build a world that, in some ways, we are only now catching back up to. So the next time someone calls the ancient past primitive, just point them toward a Roman aqueduct that is still standing. Like this video if Rome blew your mind, instead